What's up, y'all? TBrown31 here with JaboctheGreat, and we are back with the last word. It has been a while since we've done anything on the channel, but as football season is back, we are back as well. Whole lot to discuss. First thing we're going to be coming out with today is that huge game from this past weekend. Unranked Colorado, of course, being led by primetime Deion Sanders, going up against the runners up of last year, TCU. Now they are ranked 17. Obviously, they had a lot of roster turnover, as well as Colorado as well. Big game, of course, Deion's first game in Colorado. And we had Colorado upset 17th ranked TCU as they won a nail biter 45-42 in Texas.
Yeah, almost hands down the best game of opening weekend. Just a really fun shootout between two really talented teams. Maybe I know a lot of people had Colorado, or at least the betting odds had Colorado way below. I think they were like 20-point underdogs.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that didn't work out for those people, and I think that might start getting adjusted accordingly. What we got was a 45-42, just exciting game all the way through, and one that before I get really into the stats, one that kind of immediately makes you think that, oh, like this is going to be a game, because TCU's first drive is a 3-and-out and less than a minute, and then Colorado has a 5-minute drive for their first drive, gets down and goes up 7-0, and you kind of immediately think we're in for it. But some pretty impressive stats on this one. Deion Sanders goes 38 for 47 with 510 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, does not throw interception either. It is, I believe, the single game passing yard record for Colorado. So he comes in, gets a win, gets a record for the school, just doing really well. Of course, with 510 passing yards, somebody's got to catch them. And 4 of those receivers at Colorado get 100 yards. Dylan Edwards, Travis Hunter, Xavier Weaver, and Jimmy Horn Jr. being the 4 people to rack up 100 yards. Dylan Edwards gets 3 touchdowns with those 100 yards, and he rushes for 24 yards and a touchdown. So 4 touchdowns on the day for Dylan Edwards. Travis Hunter playing both sides of the ball. Again, 100-yard receiving game for him, and he has an incredible interception. And then to round out for Colorado, I should mention that one of Edwards' 3 touchdowns is a 46-yard go-ahead game-winning touchdown. That was just an exciting finish to an exciting game. TCU got some exciting stuff going on too. You don't put up 42 points in a boring manner. Chandler Morris, 24 for 42, 279 yards, 2 touchdowns, two picks. Not a horrible day. Definitely kind of looks not so great when you put it right next to Deion Sanders. But I mean, it's not like an awful day for a quarterback to have. Imani Bailey gets 164 rushing yards on 14 carries. So that's a pretty big day for him, but he's not able to get into the end zone. Trey Sanders does get into the end zone 3 times, but he gets 46 yards on 15 carries. So Imani Bailey definitely the more showboat running there and getting a lot more production. 15 carries for 46 yards. It's a little rough, but getting 3 touchdowns, I'm sure, made Trey Sanders feel a little better about it. And then Jared Wiley was TCU's leading receiver with 69 yards and one of the 2 touchdowns in the air.
Yeah, man, this was a crazy game. I didn't get to watch it live. I was able to watch it back after the fact, and seeing the score before I got to watch it, I was like, wow. I mean, like you mentioned, man, like they were a 20-point underdogs. I do think here's the thing. Obviously, Dion completely turned over the roster. I mean, they had like 3 starters, I think, return. One of them being their safety, I think, who got an interception. Woods, I'm pretty sure was his name. So for the most part, is a literally a completely new team, right? So I mean, this is something that's really unprecedented. I know USC, the Trojans, they had a lot of guys transfer. A lot of turnover there. Obviously, the quarterback coming along Lincoln Riley last year, but what Colorado had was completely unprecedented. But considering the fact that it was a 1-11 team last year, maybe it wasn't that bad of a thing. And obviously wasn't after this game, but I think it was a little too much to say that they should have been 20-point underdogs. Like, obviously, in hindsight, they won the game. But even then, I think 20 points is a little ridiculous. So I think they do deserve some credit there. But the sports books definitely got that wrong. And like you said, they'll be correcting themselves over the next few games, especially in this game upcoming against Nebraska, who just lost their first game of the season under Matt Rule. But yeah, they had an incredible performance. I mean, Shadur Sanders, of course, Deion's baby boy. I mean, he single game passing record for Colorado, and in his first game in Colorado, obviously he played at Jackson State last year, but I mean, he had an amazing game. I mean, he was pretty much on point with every single pass except for like one really early in the game. I think was heading to Travis Hunter. I'm pretty sure that he kind of missed on, but like everything else, he was pretty much dead set. Didn't make any bad decisions for the most part. I mean, he had a great game. As you mentioned, it over 100 yards for four different receivers. One of those being your running back, and one of those being Travis Hunter, who I have absolutely no idea how this dude was even walking after the game. I mean, they mentioned it over and over during the game, but this is really unprecedented. Having a guy be basically your number one corner, as well as being essentially your number one receiver. I mean, that's ridiculous. I don't know how long he'll be able to sustain this. I can't guarantee every single game he'll play 120 snaps. I think that'll be a little ridiculous, but
Yeah.
I mean, this kid is crazy talented. I mean, we did talk about this a couple years ago on the podcast when he first committed to Jackson State, probably because of Dion. Obviously, now heading over to Colorado with Dion, like many others did. This kid can obviously play. He was the number one ranked prospect in the country, but I was not expecting this going into the game because other than the score, that's all I saw. So seeing him just go in, literally play both sides of the ball like Dion did back in the day. But even then, I'm pretty sure Dion didn't play like every single snap. I mean, this kid, for the most part, played the majority of the snaps on offense that he was available for. So again, that is completely unprecedented. He had a crazy interception in the red zone, and those mistakes by TCU is kind of what screwed them in this game. I mean, obviously, you can't let somebody throw for 500 yards and expect to win. I mean, I know it's college, but still, um, two red zone interceptions and a missed field goal. Those are the difference between winning a game and losing a game, especially against a team that was, you know, pretty much doubted. Like you said, your 20-point underdogs completely doubted, even though it was a completely different roster from the 1-11 team last year. So you just have to you have to give all the credit in the world to Colorado and Coach Primetime Deion Sanders.
Yeah, I mean, this is just an incredible stage to end up on, right? TCU is ranked 17. Maybe we look a little lower on the lower ranked teams. But we do have to remember that they were just in the national championship. Didn't go well, but they
Yeah.
were there um, and had a great path up to getting there. I mean, they played well before that. And yeah, they had a lot of roster turnover, but it's a talented team. It's a team now that's got a little bit of an atmosphere around it. But honestly, I think that made Deion Sanders happier. I think he was happy for his first week to get to go up against a team like TCU with the kind of aura they've got from last season and be able to come in and just try to get something done like this. And I think it's great that it was just a great game as well, right? We get to see a lot of exciting stuff come out of this Colorado team. The wear and tear on Travis Hunter's body that you just talked about is insane. I don't know if it's just a crazy thing to think about to play that much of a football game the whole time. That's like we talk about with other sport playoffs and things, like especially basketball. We're like, oh, you got this 7 game series, but football, you got one game and it's over. Well, that's because you play 7 football games in a 2 week span. Like you're probably dead. It's gonna be really bad for your body. And so obviously playing like every snap of a game isn't gonna be quite that bad, but it's a lot. That's a lot for a guy to do. We just saw this past weekend, Purdue player get like a 72-yard interception return, and he threw up right afterwards. It's so much physically. So it's just really impressive that Travis Hunter's able to do that, and impressive for Colorado to come in here and walk away with this win, especially in the way they do it. And essentially a walk-off touchdown at the end of the game. I mean, there's more going on for after that. There's like a 3 minute drive for TCU, but it's still just like what a way for it to go. Um, but yeah, I have to agree. The TCU is never like out of this game, but there's just small things here and there. Colorado does miss a field goal before TCU misses a field goal, so that maybe offsets a little bit. But even then, when TCU misses, they're down 14-7 still. Colorado then fumbles. Then TCU is able to score. Colorado puts up a field goal before halftime and take a 17-14 lead. From there, it pulls away a little bit. Colorado, one play, 75 yards. when the third quarter begins to go up 24-21 and maybe or to go up 24-14, and maybe that feels like the air is leaving TCU, but they fight back. And ultimately, I would say it's the two the red zone interceptions. One is earlier on, of course, but the one in the second half. I think that's it's fair to say that's where the game goes down. If you look at the play-by-play and that, you'll see that interception, and then you'll see a Colorado punt, and then you'll see touchdown, 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 as the two teams just start rolling. But ultimately, I think because even if that interception is not like at the end of the game, you have a 3-minute, 95-yard drive, and you throw a pick in the interception or in the end zone, a red zone, and that's it. And it just kind of you can go back and forth from there, but when you start going back and forth and you're already down, it doesn't really matter, and that's what it really came out to.
Yeah, and I think again, this is obviously easy in hindsight to say, but I think if these teams were to play again, obviously, missed field goals, blocked field goals, those don't happen that often. But if you were to play this game again, I think I would still probably give it to Colorado, man. I think they look like they had the better players. As simple as that. I mean, when your quarterback again throws for 500 yards in his D1 debut in the Power Five, you have Travis Hunter out here doing all kinds of crazy stuff, both on offense and defense. You got four guys. Two of those guys aren't even full time receivers. Break 100 yards. I mean, that's obviously not going to happen exactly again. But I would still say Colorado would win this game. And again, you did mention it. This is the team that was in the national championship. Obviously, didn't go well for them. But even with all that turnover, you don't expect them to fall off, too bad this season, right? Obviously, with their Heisman candidate quarterback, Max Duggan being gone, that was a huge part of it. But it's still a respectable football team. So I don't think this is like a fluke win. We'll see how things turn out. Obviously against Nebraska next week. It's no secret that me and Jacob are not Matt Rule fans. I'm not going to pray on his downfall or anything, but I definitely will be rooting for Colorado in this game. Um, but after that, obviously Colorado, they do have a pretty good schedule as far as who they have to play. So they do have Oregon in a couple weeks. Week after that, they got the Trojans. I know that's going to be a big game. That might end up being a night game depending on what the other rest of the schedule looks like. Then they have Utah at the end of the season and Oregon State. So pretty much all the big hitters in the Pac-12 this year, they do have. So I ain't going to make any predictions as far as how that'll go, but I do see them doing pretty well if they can keep at that same pace. Because again, this is just a completely different roster. So obviously, if they had, let's say half their starters return, I would think it would probably be a little bit more what we would have thought it would have been. Like, okay, maybe they'll have a little bit of an improvement this year. But just based off of this game, again, TCU is a respectable team. So just based off of this, I think Colorado will have a good season. Again, not guaranteeing anything because they do have, as of right now, four top 10, four top 20 games, excuse me, throughout the rest of the season as of now. So hard to say, but just based off of this game, I mean, they looked good. Offense, obviously defense allowed 40 points, but I mean, this is college football. It's not that crazy. And the defense made plays when it mattered, getting 2 interceptions in the red zone. So not really going to harp too much on that either. So yeah, I mean, overall, again, you just have to give all the credit in the world to Colorado.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't be surprised if they can't work their way into getting ranked, maybe not super high, but getting up onto that AP poll. I don't expect to see a 45-point outing from this team every week either. But I do think we've got an exciting team to watch from both these teams. I can't be really upset at the way TCU played. I think that they're going to have a good season. Good as last year, probably not. Do I think Colorado goes all the way for a national championship? No, not really. I think that's a hard bubble to break into, and one game is not a great way to judge it. But I think the like what's the foundation? If I can speak today, I think the foundation is there. I think they've got a good place to grow from, and this is a good first game to come out and kind of put the football world on notice.
I would agree.